Welcome to Real Talk with Pam Show, where authenticity meets conversation and where women's lived experiences become shared and learning ones. I'm your host, Pamela, and today's show promises to be inspiring and insightful as I get to converse with Ifeoma Fafunwa, a visionary playwright, trainer, producer, and the creative director of Open Eye Africa Foundation. Her work is driving social change through performance art, both in Nigeria and abroad. Her acclaimed stage play, Hear Word, has inspired over 120,000 audience members worldwide. Ifeoma is an alumni of Harvard University Radcliffe Institute, the Aspen Institute, and MIT Media Lab. Let's dive in. Ifeoma, welcome to Real Talk with Pam. So glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. So today, we're going to talk about all things Ifeoma Fafunwa, talk about Hear Word, about your experiences. I want to start first with the fact that you are a pioneer of the theatre industry in Nigeria. You are a social justice activist. What got you into the path of creative activism?
Okay, so very quickly, I'll set aside this pioneer thing because I know that growing up as a child, there were, major theater. In the 60s in Nigeria, there was a lot of theater. And I think it just kind of went down. So it's more like pioneers of the Renaissance of theater. But to answer your question, I always knew I was an artist, and I really loved theater. And I discovered my love for theater at Holy Child College in Obalende. There were two things happening. So there was a priest at St. Gregory's called Father O'Connell who used to do musicals.
Okay.
And watching those musicals, I remember thinking, I really love this, but I didn't think it was a job. Everybody was always centered towards accountants, this, that. I didn't, I was lost as an artist, basically. And then when many years later, I went into architecture because it was the safest thing that you could do as an artist and not say, I went into theater arts. And I'd gone to school in the US, and it just seemed like you weren't going to go to school for drama. And then the many years later happened, which is that I then went to, I was sort of recommended into this group called the ALIWA, which is the Africa Leadership Initiative for West Africa.
Okay.
And part of that is that you do seminars in Ghana, and then, in Aspen. It's part of the Aspen Institute. And we had to take an action pledge.
Right.
And the idea was that it had to be passion-driven, but make a difference in your community. And that brought the two together for me in a way that had never happened before. So I now thought, okay, I really like art. How do I use art for community change, for development, etc.? And then my passion for women and my belief that women can make the major difference now for the world, and theater. I just put the two together right there at the seminar. And I started doing it. Yeah.
And it's absolutely been powerful because through that, I'm sure Hear Word came about.
Yes.
So for people who don't know Hear Word, could you tell us about it? But I remember watching it a few months ago. I saw you that day, and it was just so powerful, talking about women's issues, but using art to do it. But, you wouldn't expect it to be that powerful. But parts of it were funny, jarring as well, especially for the men sitting there. But it's such a powerful play that you can't walk out not being different, I believe.
Right.
And so I'd like you to talk to us about how did Hear Word come about? You're celebrating 10 years of it now, and it's been an acclaimed play, not just in Nigeria, but all over the world. So just congratulations for that.
Thank
but
you.
Please just tell us, how did that come about? And what changes have you seen through Hear Word?
Okay, so how it came about for me, like I said, the first Ignite was this, Aspen Institute, Aliwa thing. The second was I had, even before that, I had watched For Colored Girls, who, yes, in the US. And I remember thinking, wow, I want to make work like this. And it's a collection of stories based on true stories by African American women in different color outfits. So even here, what you can see, like there's some color coding. So those influences were the steadfast thing for me. And then years later, I moved back to Nigeria, and Joke Silva, I was directing. I was a creative director in the US, and I was also performing. And Joke Silva said, hey, I have this play that is tricky called The Vagina Monologues by Eve Ensler.
Right.
And I'd like somebody to direct it, and I think you will do the job.
Right.
Since you're just in town, nobody knows you. So you might take a chance and step out and do it. So then again, Vagina Monologues is similar to For Colored Girls. Right. It's just written by one person, but it's basically a collection of stories about, injustice and inequality of women, and placed in the same format, just less dance, less music.
Right.
And that, so that was the base. And then in directing that, the organization that was working together with Joke Silva put on V Monologues, and that kind of grew out of the group that came to fund V Monologues, came into town to watch the Vagina Monologues.
Right.
And then they funded the development of V Monologues. And so, in seeing that development, also I went back to the first For Colored Girls thinking.
Right.
The color, the song, the dance. And the bright lights and everything. Whereas Vagina Monologues is funny, but it's a little more in your face.
Right.
It's a little more, tough. What I was looking for was something that everyone could watch, except if you are too young. Men would be able to watch it. It looked pretty. It wasn't like this, like the feminist angst thing, which I felt would turn people off. I wanted it to be more sexy and, vibrant, the way Lagos is. So,
wow, that's amazing.
So that's where it came across.
Great. And so since it's been on for 10 years, what differences have you seen in terms of the stories that the play represents? How have you seen changes, particularly in Nigeria, through hereward?
Well, I mean, there's a lot that's happened in 10 years. We started before Me Too. So Me Too was a global movement that kind of now recognized us. And some of our international travel was, I think, because Me Too was starting. We had already been recognized and seen by audience members who are international. And I think they just started talking about it because of Me Too. And over the last 10 years, we've stayed the same. We've tweaked the story a little bit to be more, but not a lot. What has happened in 10 years is that the world has put a focus lens on injustice, on violence against women, on girls, and even now on young boys, on trafficking, etc. So they've put a lens on it, and that has helped us stay relevant as well.
Sure, absolutely.
So we support as a soft power to bigger conventions that are taking place, and you want something to draw the audience in to the data, because if you're just putting data up, people are not as,
of course,
they're not as emotionally vested.
Sure, that's true.
So and what I've seen in Nigeria is that focus has taken place. When Me Too first started, Nigeria was quiet. We were like, okay, but then a few things happened. The Dakolo girl, woman.
Yes.
She spoke about, what happened when she was a girl. And then a few, the university, sex for grades, things. So exposés happened. And I think those exposés have made a difference.
Right.
I think speaking, being I think Busola Dakolo is her name, being brave enough to come out like that. It just brings, it's like part of that hear word, it's sort of like hear me, this is what happened. Whether you agree or you don't agree, you now realize you're kind of on the lookout for it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So people are more vigilant. And then there's the students in the schools, and stuff like that. It's helped. It's helped people be more alert. It's helped people believe survivors more, because I think that was part of the gatekeeping. You tell the survivor, shh. So then it perpetuates the problem, because then the perpetrator thinks, well, nobody said anything, so he's not really bothering them.
Yes.
You know, you'd be surprised how many men think it's okay, like it's not. They didn't complain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Nobody. Whereas the survivor may be feeling like literally killing you, but they are not saying anything, or they may feel like killing themselves.
Sure.
And the man is just moving around.
Yes.
But if you want to talk about what hear word itself did, that's hard to quantify, because we have, over 150 thousand audience members around the world. So how did those members, we're only now beginning to get surveys back, and people saying things like, from that day, this is how I did things. And we're like, okay, wow, we're even surprised. It wasn't intentional.
Sure.
There was some intent.
Sure.
But we didn't know it would go on for 10 years.
For 10 years.
And we didn't know that people would be that changed by it. Every time I've worked on Hear Word, my children have suffered from it.
Right.
Definitely. And, when you're passionate and you're moving, you're not thinking. And then you come back home and you realize, my God, nothing, no development here. While I'm, so I mean, I can use this forum now to sort of apologize to my children, to say, sorry, because to be honest, it's a sad story that when you leave and you are moving with one train, that I mean, I'm lucky that I have a husband who is, who doesn't say stop and don't do the work, right? And who I can rely on to be at home, meaning to come home. He works, I mean, to come home, but then there's all that time, in the day, and
yeah, but I'm sure you're making up.
So I try to make up.
Yes.
So the best answer I can say for women who are working is something that I've learned now, and I wish I knew it 10 years ago, and that's quality time.
Right.
So what I do with my kids is I try to zero in and be very intentional about the time I'm with my children.
Yeah.
And we're making up. I mean, I can tell, like, oh, wow, this is something my child should have known 5 years ago.
Right.
And now I'm sharing it now. But children are adaptable and they'll learn. And even though they may be slower, because of that, they're catching.
Maybe.
There are probably some women who are so great at multitasking.
Right.
That they can literally be, go and do this, go and do that, ordering meat pie for the child's school, my children, like I was really racing around, when the school is always asking you for things. And I just felt like that was just one more thing I couldn't do. And with 4 children, 4 schools, and I wasn't smart enough to put them all in one school. And if I could, I would have put them in one class. you know? So 4 classes are asking for snacks or outfits for International Day and Christmas this and that play. It's like, who can do that? Now, of course, I watched a small IG thing, the woman who was, I think, the head of somewhere, she was saying how she had a person dedicated to handling all those little things like food at the school and all. So she had like a proper PA executive.
Right.
And then so that they didn't miss out on that. But still, she also had a standing, and this I learned maybe 3 years in, a standing agreement that whenever the phone rang and it was the child, she would stop
And pick up.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Real Talk with Pam. Today we've been talking with Ifeoma Fafunwa about her life, Hear Word, and just her experiences as a human being. Right, Ifeoma? Right, okay, so you have a foundation called I Open Eye. I love that name. How did that come about? And just tell me a little bit about the remit of the foundation and any projects you have coming up.
Yeah, so I Open Eye is, I came about that name from, I liked Shine Your Eye.
Right.
And the idea of awareness, and when I'd already come across this concept, I was already working on Hear Word as a concept, and another play called Lagos Woman Dream. And so the idea was that that after watching it, your eyes are
Opened, yes, yes.
So so I thought I Open Eye would be a foundation that other artists could come and share transformational work, artwork, in that same way that we do. So what we do is basically use performance arts to drive social change. We have a few other projects. They're just not as popular as Hear Word.
Right.
Love and Recession, is another play. And there's a play called 100 Million Vagabonds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is, basically about, it only had one small airing. And I haven't had time with Hear Word's being so all-encompassing. But about young people, and not investing in youth.
Right.
So then you create 100 million vagabonds, right?
Wow.
And the idea is just to make the population aware on all sides, from the people who sustain the problem, and the people who suffer from the problems, as a nation, for us to be aware. And that was the idea behind I Open Eye.
Yeah.
Meaning the artist is opening their own eye, and the audience is getting their own eyes opened as well.
Yes.
We also do workshops. We've been doing workshops for a long time, but they're quiet. We don't charge for the workshops.
Okay.
And these are performance art workshops that include not just actors, singers, some dancers, just people who want to public speak. While we're teaching the craft, the art of excellent performance, we're also teaching you about, because it's usually for women, although I've had a few workshops with men.
Right.
But it's basically about who are you as a woman in the world of patriarchy? How does patriarchy manifest? Because if you're teaching someone an excellent art form, you also have to teach them how the system may be holding them down ever so, either strongly or gently, right? So we also teach that in the workshop.
That's great. And do you do anything with teenagers?
We do. We've done school. We've actually gone to, we have a version of Hear Word that goes to,
fantastic.
to secondary schools. And we've done boys' secondary schools. So, and that's a different exciting, or the police academy, where, it's a different set of questions.
Yes.
Because when boys are asking questions about this, it's actually something that I think we need to do more of, because that was an eye-opening experience for us to have 10 actresses that are like aunties that, teenage boys can ask honest questions.
That is so powerful. That is amazing.
Yeah. And then we do the open dialogue. So the open dialogue is something that we do with or without the show. which is just like forums where discussions can take place. People can ask questions, people can exchange ideas, people can come up with solutions, and they can argue also.
So moving on, I wanted to ask about just women supporting women. I think that it's what I find sometimes with women is that we can fall into the comparison trap. So how can women, just support other women and not fall into that trap where we get into being competitive with one another, and then it can become quite an unhealthy thing rather than a very holistic and inspiring thing?
Well, the first thing to acknowledge, I think, is that almost every woman has somehow been trained to compare themselves to another woman. Men do it, but in a different kind of way, right? To compare themselves to another woman and to lack trust. I think trust, because I think men have more trust for one another in the sense that even if I'm comparing myself to him, if I had the right tools or the right money or whatever it is, I'll be there.
Sure.
Yeah. Whereas women we're trained to take that back seat, to doubt, to question, to not laugh too loud, to not give your full passion in things, especially if you are trained in that colonial method or era. Why are you showing why are you laughing too loud? We even have it in Yoruba, like, kilo rin fun. You know what I mean? It's just like, they're just things that hold you back. So you start, when you don't trust yourself fully, you also don't trust the same thing like you.
That's right.
Now, that's not to say that women can't be difficult to partner with. I think that when you have not been given the opportunity to be in charge, then you suddenly feel like when you're in charge or when it's moving forward, that you get hungry for it.
Right.
In the same way that leaders in Nigeria or in Africa as a whole, they come to leadership and then you start feeling like it's this feeding frenzy and you feel like it was ordained.
Right.
God has decided that you are supposed to be dominating and taking everything.
Right.
So I think there's some degree of when you haven't been, when you're being traumatized, that you don't trust the other person's motives. And so there's always a checking with women. Now, what I think as a group of women we need to realize is the hard facts. And that is that when women lead certain things, there tends, or when they are included in leadership, those things tend to be more wholesome.
That's right.
They are planned for the future better. Women are more aware of grandchildren that will need the next generation and the generation after that. They think about things that maybe men may not think about and maybe should think about. Just the environment, just things that we need.
Right.
So when women are included in leadership, things work better. That's one. When you partner with another woman, at least from the work I've been doing, it really has been women that have pushed here word. Now, of course, you'd say, well, it's women's work, but the biggest leaps forward have come from women, from audience members who just walk up and say, and in the beginning you wonder if you should trust it, what's the motive? I really want to take this to Ibadan. I really want to take this to Harvard. I really want, these are all women that, and if you look in the arts in general, just in film, in fine art, women have come to play in those areas and it's moved the entire art form up.
Right.
So the advice I have for women is, it will feel uncomfortable it may feel uncomfortable to work with other women and to
Right.
partner, but we have things are critical enough now in Africa and in Nigeria that we have no choice. We should do it anyway.
That's right. That's right.
And then see how to make it work as we move forward.
Sure.
Because the things that women are doing together now, that's the one thing I failed to mention. In the last 10 years, the partnerships with women, you know, the clubs, the Bible study groups, the, you know, women are running the schools. The
Sure.
moms are running the school projects, the parties, the celebrations, the campaigns, the banks,
Yes.
the women in the bank, the churches. You have one pastor. It is like 300 women that are running that church facility. So the question then is, then why aren't we, they run the home.
Right.
So why aren't we putting them in a position that we can then say to women, oh yeah, solve this problem now.
Solve this problem. Yeah.
Solve this problem that is Nigeria. Yeah.
Yes.
So in
That's a big
in
question.
my life, women have brought the biggest wins.
Yeah. So have I. I think that I found in my own life is when you have a group of people who share the same values, then you move each other forward. I mean, I met you through Ndidi Munali, and you know that has been an instrumental relationship for me. She's one of the women who championed so many other women, and I think, like you champion so many other women, I think we need more women who champion other women. Yes, women are doing things, but I find that, you know, a friend today said to me, you know, collaboration over competition, and that's the mindset I think women need to have. And like you said, if you start from a premise of you don't trust yourself, then you find it hard to trust someone else. But if you come with an open heart of, no, this is going to be good for me and for everybody else, and bring each other up, that is a powerful thing, you know. And I think, like you said, women are a powerful force. And if we can just get over ourselves sometimes, we'll keep moving forward.
And I think when you say to yourself, the competition, what does the competition mean? Where does it come from? It's really that system that exists that says this type of woman is better than this type of woman. And this younger woman is better than an older woman, right? So then what is the system that's put those rules in place?
Sure.
Because there used to be a different set of rules. I mean, in a village, a grandmother of 80 who is moving around, you know, is revered, right? I mean, so they are just, everybody has something to offer.
Exactly.
And if you begin to decide that what you have to offer has to look like what someone else has to offer, that's it. Yeah,
exactly.
You've got to find your own passion. I mean,
Yes.
as churches say, or as whatever say, as mosques say, you know, what is your passion that you're bringing? What did God make you to do?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And the minute, like you said, you begin to compare yourself with somebody else, oh, I should be there, why am I not doing this? It's all downhill from there.
It's downhill because you're not listening to what you are meant to do.
Yeah. And look at
and
that.
we all do it.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
do.
you know,
Absolutely.
I've got my hair braided, and you know, I'm wearing, you know, it's embassy. You know, we all do it
to a certain extent.
We all do it
absolutely.
to an extent. But I think, like now at my age, I'm looking back and saying, what do I do every day that I'm doing for the world and not for myself?
Sure.
That's the question I'm starting to ask myself. And you'll be surprised how many things. I'm ready to gorimapa my hair.
I did that. I only started growing back my hair actually about a year ago. You know, when I lived in England, one day I just got up. I said, I'm tired.
Yeah, what are we
I'm tired
doing?
of just going to palm my hair, spending 100. I just went to the barbers. I said, shave it all off.
Shave it all off.
Yeah. So I just started growing back my hair again. But yeah, that's a powerful question. What are you doing?
What is it you do every day that is not really for you? It's because you think you need the approval of others.
Sure.
You need people to look at you and say, wow, you know, I want to be like her. You need admiration, right? And this is my new journey, my own new eye-opener for myself. And maybe I can write about it for...
Yes. Yeah, no, that's powerful. And also, you know, similar to you, moving back to Nigeria, I made up my mind. I said, you know what, Pam, you need to face your own lane, because if you start looking left and right, there's so many things that are going to make you feel intimidated. So many women that are going to make you feel like you're nothing. Not because they're saying it, but I'm saying it to myself.
Yes,
You know what I mean? So I had to be intentional about saying, you know what, face your own lane. I'm not looking left, I'm not looking right. I'm just going to do my own journey, and it's helped me.
And to support that, think about it. If every young woman decided, I'm not doing anything because it's not, because the end result of that can be that you look at someone else and say, wow, this person is doing so much more. What I'm doing is pointless.
Right.
So then you don't do it.
Do it, exactly.
Or you don't do it with passion, or you don't grow it, right? Then what happens is then we have a world where so many people are not doing anything because one or two idols, we're all busy looking at that person.
That's it. That's true.
So then your little community, your school, your home, your little nieces or nephews don't benefit from your greatness because you think my light is not bright enough. Let me just switch it off.
Right.
That person who is far away, whether it's Michael Jackson or whatever it is, they're far away. They're not really changing. They're changing the world in some way, but they are doing their own light.
Sure.
So, when you idolize too much, then what happens is you're busy doing that rather than growing your own crop.
That's right.
And then it starts to look like almost like this cult type of thing or a community, the olden days communities you see in movies where the emperor comes out and all the people bow their head and they busy they wait for the handout.
Sure.
You see what I mean?
I see what
so
you
that's
mean.
an extreme visual that you can now play over on women. Every woman has something to bring.
Absolutely.
The woman selling oranges that greets you and says, come on, and she gives you one extra, or you are walking with your child and she says, come, and she cuts that. That changes the day. She just cuts that orange for that child. It changes the day.
Absolutely.
She has empowered. She has put out an energy field.
That's true.
And we all need to just be putting out our energy field and not comparing our energy field to anybody else's.
Daily. Yep. Amazing. So finally, thank you so much. Finally, what are you most grateful for?
What am I most grateful for? I'm grateful for many things. I'm grateful, but in this work, with this particular work, I am grateful, first of all, for the women that I work with. I work with some amazing women. I work with, Joke Silva, Elvina Hebrew, Amona, Zara. They're amazing women. They've stayed with this project for 10 years. They've taught me a lot about this same collaboration and camaraderie, sisterhood. They've prayed for me. I've prayed for them, we're like a family. So I'm grateful for them. They've grown me. They've given me a tough time sometimes, really tough time. I'm not gonna lie. They kick my sometimes it's like, am I going to stand up again? Because they are daring, bold, passionate and powerful women. So being around them sometimes is like you're in the fray and they'll knock you down. But their commitment level, their artistry, their partnership with me, their trust in me, has been incredible. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the audience that has carried Hereward everywhere, because I haven't written to anyone to say, we want to take Hereward to Germany, or we want to take it, or to Ibadan or Abuja. This is audience that have written to us. And for every place we've gone, that really only has constituted about 10% or less.
Wow.
Because most people who try to take it don't get it, but we still see them trying, and that's wonderful. That's wonderful. I'm grateful for the audience. And lastly, I guess I'm grateful for my own development and my own being able to say, because I never stayed at anything for more than 2.5 years. I really don't have the staying power. I get
Is that creative juices?
I cannot stay in any job. I left after 2 years.
Right.
So so the fact that I've stayed 10 years is like, it's killing me, but it's trained me.
Right.
And it has made me learn about myself, that I'm capable of doing that. Yeah.
Amazing.
So I'm grateful for all. And I have to be honest, my spirituality has grown. I was always spiritual, not religious in practice.
Sure.
But I have seen things in this 10 years that make me understand that it's not me.
It's bigger than yourself.
Oh, yeah. No, I knew that immediately.
Yeah.
Like within the first few years, I was like, because I would hit this boulder and me would say, there is no way this is moving. We're going to fold here.
Right.
And then, I'd get up the next day, I'd hear a voice saying, just keep going. And I move, and then there's like a parting of the seas, right? From money to, tickets to, just all sorts of things have happened, miracles on the way. And so, so my spirituality has grown.
Fantastic. Yeah. Thank you so much, Ifeoma. Thank you most of all for saying yes to hear word and not giving up after 2 years. Thank you for the changes that you've made, whether you know it or not. It's a powerful, powerful play. It's changed my life and the way I think about things. And thank you for the difference you're making in the world of bringing women, inspiring women, and just emboldening us to do better. So thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you to your audience.
We are here to collect our brother's property. Yes, I ever see the leg of Iyala Yababalai in this way again. You will meet your maker. Hear what?
Thank you so much to Ifeoma for being on Real Talk with Pam. It was an inspiration hearing her story and experiences. We believe that from sharing your experiences, another woman will see themselves in you. A shout out to that woman out there breaking through barriers daily and staying true to yourself. I am proud of you. Remember, here on Real Talk with Pam, authenticity meets conversation. Till next time, bye for now.